Are you ready to experience the ultimate adventure? Join us on a 22-day Holland America Antarctic cruise aboard the Oosterdam. This unforgettable journey includes stops at vibrant cities, breathtaking natural wonders, and the icy wilderness of Antarctica. From Buenos Aires to Santiago, we'll share everything we did in port, highlight the scenic cruising, and give you a detailed feel for what this incredible cruise entails. Let's dive in. If you're new here, we're two traveling after one, a couple of empty nesters on a mission to explore the world and share all the tips we pick up along the way. Like and subscribe to our channel for everything slow and nomadic travel, practical tips, destination guides, and in-depth information to help you plan your next adventure. Our cruise started with an overnight in Buenos Aires, where we spent 2 days soaking up the city with our daughter. Since we had already spent an incredible 45 days in Buenos Aires before the cruise, we were pros at navigating the city. This time, it was all about showing her the highlights. If you want a deeper dive into everything Buenos Aires has to offer, including what we did and spent, check out our dedicated video. With her fresh off the plane, we jumped right into exploring. We hopped on the subway and the local buses to get around. This is an affordable and authentic way to experience the city. To use public transportation in Buenos Aires, you'll need to purchase a Subte card at a kiosk store and then load it at the subway stations. The tricky part is that where you buy the card doesn't load it, and where you load it, you can't buy the card. So for short trips to Buenos Aires, we'd recommend using Uber. It's fast, easy, and affordable. We don't recommend flagging down taxis on the street for safety reasons and to avoid potential scams. We wandered through the vibrant San Telmo area, exploring the market and hunting down the famous Mafalda statue along with all of her cartoon friends. We also stopped by the San Roque Church, admired the iconic Plaza de Mayo with the pink house and its stunning gardens, and checked out the Retiro station, conveniently located near the cruise port. Finally, we capped off our time in Buenos Aires with the perfect sail away, blessed by beautiful weather. Our day in Montevideo started early, with the ship arriving at 8 a.m. We hit the ground running to explore this vibrant city, packing in as much as we could while keeping things budget-friendly by exploring on our own. Here's how we spent the day. Our first stop was at the Montevideo Port Art Market, where the local artists and vendors displayed their crafts and souvenirs. Since it wasn't open yet, we decided to return later to grab some treats before heading back to the ship. Next, we took a stroll along the famous Rambla Francia, a scenic oceanside promenade. We walked about 2 miles, taking in the historic monuments and the beautiful waterfront views. From there, we visited Independence Plaza, the city's main square, featuring the iconic gateway to the Citadel, the Uruguay Presidential Complex, and the Estevez Palace. The festive Christmas decorations made it feel especially magical. Unfortunately, I had to make a quick pharmacy stop for a rash because I discovered I'm allergic to the pool chemicals on board. This was quick and easy, and the pharmacist did a consult and prescribed some medicine for me. Next, we visited the Fountain of the Locks, a charming landmark covered in padlocks symbolizing love. It's located on Avenue 18th of July, right outside Bar Facal. We continued along Avenue 18th of July, Montevideo's main street, soaking up the energy and admiring the city's vibrant street art. One of the highlights of the day was visiting the Intendencia de Montevideo, where we enjoyed stunning 360-degree views of the city. Outside, we admired a replica of Michelangelo's David and appreciated the city's unique history. Going to the top of this building is free, and to access the top floor lookout, walk around the building and use the entrance underneath it marked with the bright yellow signs. After that, we returned to the waterfront and strolled along La Rambla, making our way to Playa Ramirez, a public beach located across from Parque Rodó. This spot had a McDonald's with free Wi-Fi and some unique menu items. We enjoyed some shakes and relaxed on the patio, taking advantage of the free Wi-Fi. We crossed over to Parque Rodó and explored the large holiday market, admiring the charming castle and the small lake where visitors can rent boats. Later, our daughter stopped for a haircut and took an Uber ride back to the port. Uber was readily available in Montevideo, and it cost $11 for the ride. Since we brought up Uber, a quick note about cell service. We used a cruise and port plan from GigSky, which cost $68 for 5 gigabytes of data for 30 days. This plan works seamlessly both on the ship and at every port, except for the Falkland Islands and the 4 days that we were cruising in Antarctica. Honestly, Gig Sky has been a total game changer for cruising. It's saved us from needing an expensive cruise ship plan or upgrading our existing one, and our phones work perfectly in every port. Highly recommend checking it out if you're planning a trip. We'll include a link in the description. Meanwhile, we decided to walk the 1.7 miles back, enjoying more of Montevideo's incredible street art along the way. On our way back, we walked through Constitution Plaza, a lively square filled with artisans, street performers, vendors, and cafes, and visited the Montevideo Metropolitan Cathedral. We continued making our way back towards the ship and past the Gaucho Museum, which showcases the fascinating history of Uruguay's cowboys. We ended our day back at the Port Market, which is directly across from the pier, where we picked up some delicious dulce de leche cookies, and before reboarding the ship, we made a final stop at Alaflores, treating ourselves to a box of these iconic Uruguayan treats. If you're interested, another site to visit in Montevideo is the Centenario Stadium, the home stadium of Uruguay's soccer team and the former World Cup venue that opened for the World Cup in 1930. The stadium is a 20-minute Uber ride from the port and offers a museum and guided tours, which can be booked in advance through their website. Montevideo was an incredible port to explore on your own, and with a little bit of walking, we managed to do it all. Punta del Este welcomed us with sunny skies and a morning arrival that had us disembarking by 9 a.m. Instead of booking a shore excursion, we again decided to explore on our own, and this glamorous seaside destination in Uruguay offered an incredible mix of wildlife, history, and stunning coastal views. This is a tender port, so we had to get tender tickets from the Rolling Stone Lounge, which was an easy process. We started our day at the Punta del Este Port Fish Market, which is located right next to where the tenders come in. The local sea lions are the stars of the show here. These playful marine mammals, known for their impressive size and charm, hang out around the market waiting for scraps from the fishermen. Locals have even named a few of them, like Ronaldo, a frequent visitor who seems to enjoy the limelight as much as the fish. You can talk to one of the fish vendors and for a few dollars buy a fish carcass to feed to the sea lions. From there, we headed to the Punta del Este Lighthouse, a historic lighthouse at the southern tip of the peninsula. This was about 4 blocks from the tender dock and a lovely stroll through what looked like a beach vacation home neighborhood. Continuing on, we walked to Great Britain Square. This spot, marked by an anchor, commemorates a historic marine encounter and serves as the southernmost point in Uruguay. The views were spectacular: city skylines, coastal tidal pools filled with small snail eggs and shells, and a large Uruguayan flag swaying in the breeze. Continuing our walk along the Rambla, we followed the coast until we reached the Playa de los Ingleses, a picturesque beach where lifeguards were on duty and plenty of visitors were enjoying the sun. As we continued to stroll along the Rambla, we stumbled upon El Rapto de Europa, a stunning bronze sculpture by the Spanish artist Oscar Alvarino. After about a 30-minute walk, we reached the Playa Brava and the iconic La Mano de Punta del Este, a famous sculpture of the hand emerging from the sand. This landmark by a Chilean artist is a must-see and a perfect photo spot. We took a short break at the nearby snack bar, grabbing popsicles and a couple waters. Crossing the street from Playa Brava, our next stop was the 360-degree Vista Gallery Museum and La Vista, a unique revolving restaurant on the 23rd floor. The museum and restaurant offers 360-degree views of the city and coastline. You can pay to go up and walk through the small museum to take in the views, or you can enjoy a meal here. We went up and got a stunning bird's eye view of Punta del Este. Afterward, we headed down Calle 20 and the nearby streets, exploring some of the luxury shops, the souvenir stands, and picking up a pair of Vans for our daughter. Heading back to the port along the water, we found La Glorieta, a charming gazebo offering panoramic views of the harbor. Locals were busy shellfishing for mussels nearby, adding to the authentic charm of the area. We finished walking back to the pier and boarded our ship's tender, enjoying the beautiful views of the skyline and the harbor, along with a few more wildlife sightings. Punta del Este was a delightful beach town and a mix of natural history, beauty, and relaxation. ATMs were readily available everywhere and accepted our U.S. credit cards. The peninsula is around 2 kilometers long, making it a very easily walkable port. Our next port after a relaxing sea day was Puerto Madryn, Argentina. This stop turned into quite an adventure thanks to some unpredictable weather. Despite the challenges, we made the most of it. We arrived later than expected due to incredibly high winds with gusts over 55 knots, which delayed our docking. Be aware that this port has no tugboats and the ship will be unable to dock in high winds. Unfortunately, this rough weather led to the cancellation of our planned shore excursion to the Punta Tombo Penguin Reserve, which we had booked through Holland America. The good news was that Holland America refunded the cost directly back to our onboard account. Determined to still experience some of the area's incredible wildlife, we used our Spanish and hired a cab to visit the Punta Loma Sea Lion Reserve. This spot did not disappoint. The reserve is home to a colony of sea lions that we got to observe in their natural habitat. It was an unforgettable experience despite the winds still whipping through the area. It was about a 20-minute ride outside of town and the cab cost $70. Cabs were lined up right where you exited the pier. There were a few paths to explore and a viewpoint to take in the sea lions on the beach below. They were fun and entertaining to watch, and we spent some time here all alone before some of the other tours showed up. Be sure to walk down the path, which will give you a view looking back at the beach beyond the platform, where hundreds of sea lions can be seen. We saw several large white things floating in the water and were surprised to hear that they were jellyfish, the largest that we had ever seen. We saw so many of them up close while strolling the beach before reboarding the ship. Back in Puerto Madryn, we spent some time exploring the town. While wandering the streets, we stumbled upon some great local shops. We picked up a few Christmas gifts and our favorite souvenir stickers. We also withdrew some Argentinian pesos from the ATM here. There were several ATMs throughout the town, and we found that not all of them would accept our US debit card. The BBVA ATM on Señas Peña, about a block from the pier, worked for us. The withdrawal fees are quite steep here, about $20 US. So we always recommend using a card that reimburses ATM fees like those offered by Charles Schwab or Fidelity when traveling. We ended our day strolling along the beach before we reboarded the ship. Though the morning weather wasn't ideal, we did appreciate the chance to see a different side of this charming port. Between the Sea Lion Reserve and exploring the town, we ended the day with some unique memories. Even with the curveballs, Puerto Madryn offered some unforgettable moments. After another sea day, we arrived in Port Stanley in the Falkland Islands. This stop turned out to be one of the highlights of our trip, an unforgettable mix of wildlife and rugged adventure. This was another tender port, and since we were on a private tour, we needed to get tickets from the Rolling Stone Lounge to get off of the ship. Because we wanted to be on time for our tour, we lined up about an hour before the tenders started to guarantee a spot on the first tender off the boat. The tender ticket process throughout the cruise was pretty easy and well organized, and we had no issues getting on and off the ship with a little bit of pre-planning. This port is frequently canceled due to weather, and we were told that the ship only comes in about 50% of the time. All of the tours we saw that you could book privately offered full refunds if the ship was unable to dock, but double check when booking your tours for their refund policy. Once we made it ashore, we were met by our private tour guide, Jimmy Curtis, for a full-day Land Rover 4x4 adventure. There were several tour guides set up here where you could purchase tours if they had availability. We would recommend booking ahead for this port, especially if you want to go to Volunteer Point, due to the restrictions on how many visitors they allow. Most of the tours were sold out. Our private tour, which we had booked ahead of time online, will include a link in the description, included our driver Sean, who expertly navigated the rugged terrain, a full day of touring, and a lunch of Jimmy's secret recipe curry chicken sandwiches, hot tea, and snacks. It was about a third less than the cost of the same Holland America tour. Jimmy was very organized and had great communication, and we highly recommend taking this tour. All of the operators work together, have backup plans, and leave plenty of time to ensure that you make it back to port on time. As we have found with most ports like this around the world, tour operators have to be licensed, follow strict rules, and this is their livelihood, so not bringing you back on time is not really an option for them. The journey to Volunteer Point was an adventure in itself, with bumpy off-road trails that added to the excitement. Once we arrived, we were greeted by the incredible sight of thousands of Magellanic, Gentoo, and king penguins. Seeing these penguins in their natural habitat was absolutely magical and easily a bucket list moment. After spending plenty of time exploring at Volunteer Point, we enjoyed a boxed lunch of curry chicken sandwiches and tea to warm up before making the 4x4 drive back to Port Stanley, taking in the scenic views along the way. Once back in town, we had plenty of time for a short tour of Port Stanley, visiting the War Memorial and touring the supermarket. We always love to see what different places have to offer, and this supermarket was the clothing store, gift shop, cafe, and electrical supply store all in one. We browsed the few shops and picked up some small souvenirs. This is a port where we would recommend checking what other ships are in port on the same day, as it can get quite busy and complicated to book tours. There are only 3,000 residents and a tiny downtown. Our guide told us that on an upcoming day, they had over 5,000 passengers visiting. To check who's going to be in port, we recommend using Cruise Mapper. It's always a good idea to know how crowded your ports are going to be. After a day filled with adventure, wildlife, memorable moments, and meeting new friends, we tendered back to the Oosterdam, reflecting on how special this stop was. The Falkland Islands offered one of the most unique experiences of our entire cruise, and while it was one of our priciest stops, it was absolutely unforgettable. The highlight of our entire cruise was without a doubt the 4 days we spent exploring Antarctica. This part of the journey was unforgettable, a mix of stunning scenery, incredible wildlife, and unique experience. A lot depends on the weather in this region, but we were lucky enough to get very close thanks to the skillful navigation of our captain and the clear skies on most days. Here are some recommendations on scenic cruising days and the best viewing spots. On most days, the bow of the ship on deck 4 and the front walkways on decks 6, 7, and 8, and 9 were accessible. However, when the bow was closed due to high winds or weather, an occurrence that happened a few times, the walkway on deck 9 just past the gym remained open, although it could be quite windy. On deck 4, access to the bow was on the starboard or right side, and the door was kept open the whole time the bow was open, making the deck 4 hallway a very windy and cold place. This is something to consider when you're booking cabins on that floor. Another scenic and warm spot for viewing on the deck was above the rear pool. This deck had an exhaust fan from the kitchen, making it a warm place to stand and be out of the elements, as long as you enjoy the smell of baking bread. The bow offered stunning views, but because it's lower, it did make it harder to see whales and other wildlife in the water. The upper decks were better for that. Also, don't forget about the walkways on deck 3. This was a great place to walk around, get views from both sides of the ship, and get some exercise while working off all that food you'll be eating. This was also the best place to view Glacier Alley because you could see the glaciers approaching and then as they went by. When we were in bays or viewing glaciers, the captain always spun the ship around so that you could take in the views from everywhere. So don't forget to move around because there was always a new stunning view to discover and unique perspectives from each of these viewing points. To avoid the weather altogether, the crow's nest was very popular and filled up early in the morning, especially the comfy seats by the windows. There is a tint on the windows, so it might not be the best place to get spectacular photos. The views were amazing, and it is a great place to warm up and have coffee or hot chocolate. From Elephant Island to Palmer Station, every moment was like stepping into another world. Imagine hundreds of icebergs, majestic whales, playful penguins, and dramatic mountain peaks. It was everything we had dreamed of and more. Our journey began on Point Wild on Elephant Island, the site where Shackleton's crew was stranded for months. This historic location set the tone for the adventure ahead as we cruised south, passing massive icebergs and spotting wildlife along the way. On Christmas Day, we sailed near Livingston Island, where we saw incredible views of the Great Needle Park and Mount Friesland. Deception Island, with its volcanic landscape, was another highlight, and we were treated to countless wildlife sightings, including whales and dolphins. One of the most special moments came when the researchers from the Palmer Station, a U.S. Antarctic base, boarded our ship. They gave a fascinating presentation about their research and daily life in one of the most remote places on Earth. The chef sent them off with the fresh vegetables for the base, and they mingled on the bow of the ship, taking photos and telling their stories. The sunsets, or as we called them, golden hours and hours and hours, were pure magic. As we sailed away from Palmer Station, the light illuminated massive icebergs and glaciers, giving us some of the most beautiful views of this trip. Be aware that the Antarctic cruise plan and reality can be quite different. The captain provided us with a map of the planned route, and after we finished scenic cruising, we were given an updated version of where we actually visited. The changes are due to weather and ice conditions. Throughout the journey, be sure to check out the Antarctic Expedition section in the Crow's Nest. This was a treasure trove of information about Antarctica, charts of where we were going, and even at one point some ice to touch. Finally, as we made our way back to South America, we crossed the Drake Passage for the second time and rounded Cape Horn, a moment marked by calm seas and a sense of accomplishment. We even received certificates as honorary members of the Order of the Mossback, commemorating this incredible achievement. Antarctica exceeded every expectation and was worth every effort to get there. From breathtaking landscapes to up-close wildlife encounters, this was truly the adventure of a lifetime. Our next stop was Ushuaia, Argentina, famously known as the gateway to the end of the world. This port offered an incredible day of exploration and stunning landscapes. We packed in an unforgettable adventure that highlighted the best of Tierra del Fuego. We hired a taxi driver just outside the port who agreed to take us on a full-day tour of Tierra del Fuego National Park. As you head off of the pier, look for the tourist info booth, and to the left of it is a taxi stand where there were plenty of taxis offering tours. We negotiated the fee up front, and he agreed to let us pay by credit card. The cost for the 5-hour tour was $110 US. Our tour included stops at iconic landmarks and plenty of wildlife sightings. To enter the park, we paid the National Park admission fee in addition to our tour fee. The adventure began with a stop at the famous Train to the End of the World. We had heard mixed reviews about this train journey and were happy that we did not splurge on the trip after viewing it. It was nice to see the steam trains and take some pictures, but the journey on the train really takes you nowhere. It goes from the train station to a station a little ways into the park, by the Pipo River, valleys, and a forest, but does not go by any of the main sites in the park. So unless you really want lunch and a train journey, we would recommend skipping it and spending more time in the park itself. We stopped at the End of the World Post Office, the southernmost post office on the planet, where you can send postcards with a unique stamp. They'll also stamp your passport here, which we did not have since the ship collected everyone's passports and does not return them until the end of the trip. A tip is to keep a color photocopy or scanned passport image on your phone. This seems pretty standard. We've been on several cruises where they've collected passports. Along the way, we encountered incredible wildlife, spotting native birds, wild horses, and even beavers. Learning about the beavers' impact on the landscape was fascinating, as their introduction has caused some significant environmental changes here. We visited the Green and Black Lagoons, peaceful spots with serene views, before stopping at the southern end, or beginning, depending on how you see it, of Route 3, which stretches across the entire Patagonian region. One of the most picturesque spots of the day was Bahia La Pattaya, a stunning bay in the heart of Tierra del Fuego National Park. The natural beauty here was unforgettable. After returning to Ushuaia, our driver gave us a city tour, pointing out historical landmarks and taking family photos with famous sites. We also viewed the old prison, now a collection of museums showcasing regional history, maritime heritage, and life at the prison itself. We spent some time shopping downtown, including a stop at the Laguna de Negro, a chocolate store recommended by our driver. Before heading back to the ship, we visited the wreck of St. Christopher, a tugboat that ran aground in the 1950s. This relic of the past stands as a testament to Ushuaia's maritime history. From the harbor, we took in the views of the very active port and nearby airport, both of which are key to Antarctic expeditions. Ushuaia offered an unforgettable mix of history, nature, and culture, making it one of the most unique spots on our journey. From Ushuaia, our journey continued as we sailed through the breathtaking Beagle Channel and the majestic Glacier Alley. This stretch of the channel, known as the Avenue of the Glaciers, offered a visual feast with 6 stunning glaciers lining the route. We marveled at the towering glaciers, each one named after a European country. Glacier España, Glacier Francia, Glacier Italia, Glacier Alemania, Glacier Hollanda, and Glacier Romanche, which is named after the French ship. Each glacier was unique, showcasing deep blue ice, jagged edges glinting in the sunlight, and serene reflections on the icy waters. The surrounding mountains and dramatic landscapes added to the grandeur of the scene. As we sailed, we spotted wildlife along the shores and took time to reflect on the immense power of nature and that shaped these glaciers over the millennia. This part of the journey was a breathtaking reminder of the beauty of our planet. Glacier Alley was truly one of the highlights of the Beagle Channel and created memories that we'll treasure forever. Our next port was Punta Arenas, Chile, a charming city filled with history, culture, and scenic views. We didn't book a tour here, choosing instead to explore on our own. This was another tender port. We started our day at Plaza Munoz Gamero, the heart of Punta Arenas. This beautiful plaza is surrounded by historic buildings like the Cerebron Palace and features a statue of Ferdinand Magellan. Next, we headed to the Mirador Cerro de la Cruz, a viewpoint that offered panoramic vistas of Punta Arenas, the Strait of Magellan, and even glimpses of Terra del Fuego on a clear day. One of the most fascinating stops of the day was the Cementerio Municipal de Punta Arenas. This cemetery is known for its beautifully maintained grounds and impressive mausoleums, reflecting the city's rich history and cultural diversity. We continued to the waterfront where we admired local parks and several monuments, including the Monument to the Mariners, the Circumnavigation Monument, and the Monument to Goleta Ancud, a schooner that played a pivotal role in Chile's sovereignty over the Strait of Magellan. From here, we enjoyed great views of the Oosterdam moored in the harbor. We browsed through the shops in the city center and picked up some stickers. Punta Arenas also surprised us with its vibrant murals, adding a touch to the city's streets. A unique moment came when we were interviewed by local reporters about our visit, and we shared our thoughts on the city and why we chose it as part of our adventure. Punta Arenas may be small, but it's packed with history and charm. Exploring on our own allowed us to take in the highlights at our own pace and create memories that we'll cherish. The next part of the journey took us through some of the most breathtaking landscapes of the cruise. We spent several days sailing through the Strait of Magellan, the Sarmiento Channel, and the stunning Chilean fjords, with the highlight being the magnificent Brujo Glacier. Sailing through the Strait of Magellan was like stepping back in time. This historic passage, once navigated by explorers, offered a blend of serene waters and dramatic untouched landscapes. The Sarmiento Channel offered a new level of beauty to the journey, with towering cliffs and lush greenery contrasting against the icy waters. The reflections on the channel's mirror-like surface made it feel like we were gliding through a painting. As we approached the Brujo Glacier, the sheer scale of the icy landscape left us speechless. The brilliant blue hues of the glacier stood out against the rugged mountain backdrop, making this one of the most awe-inspiring moments of the cruise. The Chilean fjords provided the perfect finale to this cruising segment. The winding waterways, surrounded by steep mountains and dotted with waterfalls, were a reminder of the nature's grandeur. Wildlife sightings, including birds and sea lions, added to the magic of the experience. These days of scenic cruising were a chance to slow down and take in the raw, untouched beauty of Chile. Each turn brought something new and incredible, and it was an experience that we'll never forget. Located in the heart of the Chilean Patagonia, Puerto Chacabuco welcomed us with breathtaking landscapes framed by the snow-capped Andes Mountains. This small, quiet town offered an authentic connection to nature and adventure. Although there were organized tours through Holland America to the neighboring towns of Puerto Aysén and Coyhaique, we didn't find anything that particularly interested us, so we opted to explore Chacabuco on our own. Upon disembarking in the morning, we discovered that contrary to what was shared about the port on board in the port talk, there were plenty of tour options available, costing between $30 and $50 US per person, and the operators spoke English. Additionally, we were informed that there were no ATMs in Chacabuco, but we did find one in the middle of town. We began our day with a hike in the surrounding mountains, taking in the panoramic views and rugged terrain. Our hike ended at a salmon farm on the coast, which offered a fascinating look at the region's aquaculture industry. Back into town, we stumbled upon the charming craft shop that someone had set up in their front yard, where we picked up a small souvenir. From there, we explored the local lookouts and a nearby resort, soaking in the tranquility and natural beauty of the area. One of the unexpected highlights was visiting the massive shipwreck Vina del Mar, a striking yet haunting remnant of the region's maritime history. The quiet waterfront provided even more stunning views of the town and the surrounding fjords. The shipwreck is located just to the left, a short walk from the tender port. After tendering back to the Oosterdam, we enjoyed the beautiful weather and the spectacular vistas from the ship as we continued our journey through the Chilean fjords. On our way out of the harbor, we passed the remnants of Punta Cola, a dramatic geological feature caused by a rock landslide following an earthquake. This event created a local tsunami and left behind a striking mark on the landscape. The fjords also revealed countless waterfalls and thriving aquaculture, including farms for crabs, salmon, and trout. Puerto Chacabuco may be small, but its incredible natural beauty and serene atmosphere made up for it. Our day in Puerto Montt, Chile was packed with incredible sights and unique experience with the Holland America shore excursion. We took the Patrui Falls Lake Cruise and Chilean countryside excursion. The morning did not start off that great, with an hour wait in line to get our shore excursion stickers and another wait for the tender before finally boarding our bus about an hour after our tour was scheduled to start. We would suggest lining up earlier than the time listed on your shore excursion tickets to check in and avoid waiting in long lines. Since the first stop on our tour was the boat excursion, the other buses waited until the last bus arrived before starting the cruise. We began with a 2-hour bus ride, learning the area's rich history shaped by German immigrants and enjoying views of the countryside. Our first stop was the Todos los Santos Lake, where we took a boat cruise surrounded by crystal clear waters and had spectacular views of the towering Osorno volcano. We also stopped at the Patrui River, a place of tranquil beauty. Next, we hiked around the stunning Patrui waterfalls, marveling at the power of the water against the backdrop of lush greenery. At Mirador, Puerto Varas, we were treated with breathtaking views of the lake and the multiple volcanoes, including Osorno, Calbuco, Punta Guido, and the distant Tronador volcano. While the stop at the Patrui waterfalls was beautiful, it was crowded. It was the weekend, so local families were visiting, and there were several Holland tours that were all visiting at once. We had about 40 minutes to explore and found it was barely enough time to see the falls and walk the paths. In Puerto Varas, also known as the City of the Roses, we had a delicious lunch featuring local salmon, pumpkin soup, fried bread with salsa, and a custard dessert, and Chilean drinks like pisco sour and wine. Afterward, we had time to tour the town, soaking in its German and Chilean influences, marveling at the thousands of roses lining the streets, and checking out the shops and the craft market. Be sure to take the walkway by the beach for stunning photos of the volcanoes. We reboarded the bus and headed back to Puerto Montt, and back on board the Oosterdam, the sail away gave us one last look at the majestic volcanoes and the picturesque landscapes, leaving us with unforgettable memories of this region. It was hard to believe, but our 22-day adventure was coming to an end. Our final port was San Antonio, Chile, where we disembarked the Oosterdam and began the next leg of our adventure. We enjoyed a full day exploring the region before settling into our home base in Santiago. We chose to carry our luggage off to let us disembark when we were ready. Immigration was quick and easy, and we only needed the declaration form that the cruise had provided us to fill out. After clearing immigration in San Antonio, we boarded our self-organized tour and transportation to Santiago. We'll share the link in the description. We chose this tour because we wanted to explore the area and couldn't check into our Airbnb until later in the day. The port was very busy with people disembarking, and it was a short walk from the terminal building to the area where the private tours were waiting with signs. Once our tour group was together, we had another short walk to the van. Our first stop was the picturesque flower clock in Vina del Mar, followed by a visit to the Maui statue at the Franck Museum. It was incredible to see this piece of Easter Island history up so close. Next, we toured Valparaiso, a vibrant city known for its colorful buildings, stunning views, and incredible murals. Each corner felt like stepping into an art gallery with something new and beautiful to admire. We stopped for lunch at La Conquista, an authentic Chilean restaurant where we enjoyed local flavors, and it was the perfect experience of Chilean cuisine. Our tour continued with a visit to the Casa del Bosque vineyard in Casablanca, where we indulged in a wine tasting and tour. The vineyard's serene settings and delicious wines made it the highlight of the day. We couldn't resist picking up a few bottles to enjoy later. Finally, we arrived in Santiago, where we checked into our apartment for the next month. This marked the beginning of a new chapter in our journey, giving us time to explore and immerse ourselves in the culture of this vibrant city. The tour offered drop-offs at the airport, Airbnbs, or hotels. This day was a perfect blend of sightseeing, culture, and culinary delights, and was a great way to transition into the next stage of our adventure in Santiago. Thank you for enjoying this incredible 22-day Antarctic cruise with Holland America Line with us. From the vibrant cities like Buenos Aires and Montevideo to the icy wonders of Antarctica and the breathtaking Chilean fjords, this journey really has been nothing short of unforgettable. We hope this video gave you a clear idea of what to expect on a trip like this and how to navigate all the ports, whether you're planning your own adventure or just dreaming of one. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell so you won't miss out on other slow travel inspiration and cruise tips. Let us know in the comments if an Antarctica cruise is on your bucket list, or if you've already been on one. We'd love to hear about your experience. We're always happy to answer any specific questions you might have that we didn't cover in this video, so feel free to message us. Until next time, happy travels!